1492, the same year as the discovery of America. During renovation of this church with the aim of fixing a mosaic, workers discovered a mysterious inscription Titulus Christus. When they removed it, there was a lead box inside. Upon opening the box, they discovered a wooden fragment inscribed with the words that appeared on the cross of Jesus. How did this wooden tablet make it all the way to Rome? Why was it hidden in the wall? And for how long? Today, along with the inscription on the top, in this Roman church, is a cross that is found in the portion of the river in the Roman Empire. What connects the church with Palestine? Is it possible these relics are directly connected to Jesus? We are
trying to run.
It is the heart of the Catholic Church, a point of reference for Christianity.
Die!
But the city assumed greater importance, especially in the 14th century, and there is a very important reason why. The Jerusalem College of Muslim in 1291, the last Christian stronghold in the Holy Land was lost. From then on, it was impossible to enter the Holy Land. It is a very dangerous place. Rome became the Roman.
Trying to run.
The relics and objects brought back from the Holy Land are then appreciated in a special way, and they are concentrated around the seat of the Holy. In the space between the G-square mountains, we find pieces of the cross, its inscriptions, and the name of Jesus Christ. The tomb of the Apostles' Creed, the first successor of Christ.
人類を守るくらい私一人で十分よ Over yet
In the veil with which Veronica wiped Christ's face along the road to Calvary. St. Paul, the great apostle to the nations, was also martyred here. The woman responsible for the latest excavations in the basilica reveals to us the findings of her research. The staircase from the palace of Pontius Pilate in Jerusalem, where Christ was condemned to death, is kept in this building. As a sign of devotion, pilgrims climb the 28 steps on their knees.
I'll humor you, since you went to so much trouble.
A column linked to the scourging of Christ is also found in the Eternal City. It is venerated in this chapel, located inside of one of the oldest churches in Rome, St. Praxedes. Nearby, we find the Basilica of St. Mary Major. Below its main altar, several ancient boards are preserved that made their way here from the Holy Land. Tradition reveres them as belonging to the manger of Christ. These are the relics related to the life of Christ that have converted Rome into the Eternal City. They have served to solidify the authority of those who from here exercise spiritual and, for many years, civil power. Thanks to them, this city became a focal point for pilgrims from all corners of the globe. Scholars the world over have tried to verify the authenticity of these objects. The footprints of Jesus in Rome. The history of Rome's relics have a protagonist who is as extraordinary as she is unknown. Saint Helena. She was the wife of one emperor and the mother of another, Constantine. A key battle in her life and that of her son was fought here, where today we find these streets, the Battle of the Milvian Bridge, joined to the bridge that still allows one to cross the Tiber to enter or exit Rome from the north. We are at the beginning of the 4th century, with the Roman Empire divided. Two aspiring rulers put everything at stake to gain everything on these banks of the Tiber. From Rome, Magnentius defends his position with a much larger army. Constantine arrives from the frontiers of the empire with fewer soldiers, but who are much more experienced. Tradition recounts that on the night before the battle, worried because of his numerical inferiority, Constantine received a sign in the sky. It was that the sign of the cross would help him in the battle. He had it painted on the shield of his soldiers, and the victory was overwhelming. The Battle of the Milvian Bridge, which took place in the year 312, not only marks the rise of Constantine as the new emperor, it is also considered the first step toward
We stand together.
becoming the religion of the empire.
Past
Constantine is the first Christian emperor. He was the first to die baptized. It's true he was baptized during the final moments of his life, but he's considered a Christian emperor, or at least had a favorable attitude toward Christianity.
One of the greatest legacies Constantine left in Rome is St. Peter's Basilica, which was dedicated to the first pontiff in history.
Constantine's decision to build a basilica was above all part of what all emperors did, building temples to the gods. But in this case, Constantine dedicates this basilica to St. Peter, perhaps even entrusting it to his protection.
The church we can marvel at today in the Vatican was built just on top of the original basilica, 12 centuries later. A new church, but with the same foundation as that of the 4th century, the tomb of St. Peter. Starting from the historical data, there's a large amount of archaeological investigation that confirms the tradition that the first pope in history was buried here. In the year 1949, during the pontificate of Pius XII, a series of excavations got underway that led to an extraordinary discovery.
Wanna play with me?
One of the tombs was clearly larger than the others, and it had been covered by a stone of greater quality. All the others nearby, this is truly striking, were buried facing toward it, as if attracted by a magnet. However, there was one decisive discovery, an inscription that read, "Peter is here," dating back to the time of Emperor Constantine, making clear the origin of a traditional belief that has been respected for 2,000 years.
Today, the church assures us that these bones belong to St. Peter. But even more importantly, a whole series of archaeological investigations indicate, with complete certainty, that St. Peter was buried in this place. There is a whole series of details surrounding the tomb of St. Peter that confirm with absolute certainty that the relics of St. Peter have never been removed from this exact area. They have always remained buried in the Vatican.
Thanks to special permission granted by the director of the Vatican Necropolis, we are able to enter this unique place.
Here we clearly sense and can nearly touch 2,000 years of devotion and history. Because we have the cupola, the great cupola of Michelangelo. Under this dome lies the Baldachin. Under the Baldachin sits the main altar of the Pope, which was installed there in 1594. Under this main altar, 2 more are positioned. One of them can be seen behind me, which dates back to the year 1123 during the time of Pope Calixtus II. Below that altar is positioned the medieval altar, originating in the 7th century. Even further down, we have the tomb of Constantine, which you can see behind me, and which contains within this marble case, what else? The sepulchre from the 2nd century. The sepulchre that was built right over the tomb of St. Peter, around 100 years after his death, and under which lies the pit dug into the ground in which St. Peter was buried. That's 2,000 years of devotion and history, one below the other, and one inside the other.
Have you been in a motor vehicle accident that wasn't your fault? Then you may need legal representation. And if you call the number on your screen now, you can be connected to an attorney who can tell you just how much your case could be worth for free. And for a limited time, if you call now, you can get this elegant, luxurious gold watch with the money from your own case. To be clear, not for me. This is my watch. I own it, and I like it a lot. You can't have it. But if you call and win your case, and the money is right, you can buy one of these watches for yourself, or any of these watches, or a different watch I've never even seen before, or no watch. The money is yours to do whatever it is you want. Just call the number on your screen now to find out how much your case could be worth for free.
To get a windfall, you first need to call. Call your favorite attorney now.
800-487-0943.
And you can't have my tie either.
Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country.
Before Charlie Kirk died, he issued a stark warning of terrifying dangers ahead in a new book, Pagan Threat, authored by Pastor Lucas Miles. Charlie said Pagan Threat could save America and that you must read it. Get Pagan Threat free with Newsmax's special offer. Plus, get Dick Morse's new book, The Real Charlie Kirk. 2 great books with our free offer today.
Do you suffer in pain? Are you stiff, tense, or less active than before? Introducing the EasyWell Remedy Massage System that combines the incredible effects of vibrational therapy, targeted deep tissue shiatsu massage, plus soothing infrared heat. a triple fusion of therapeutic experiences. Full body vibrational therapy increases blood circulation and reduces inflammation. Look at these beads moving from the powerful vibrational motors.
It's like 1,000 little fingers just vibrating my body from head to toe.
Infrared heat penetrates deep to reduce pain, soothe, and relax.
Remedy gets in there and helps deal with the source of the pain. So you feel much better.
The Ultra Shiatsu pillow with 6 infrared heated nodes mimics a professional massage. Plus, it's detachable for deep relief anywhere you need it.
It's just something that you go.
Experience the true remedy for your pain and stiffness. Call now.
He tells it like it is. With decades covering Washington and the really big stories, Ted Henry cuts through the noise and gives you the facts you need to know. Ted on The Briefing tonight on Newsmax 2.
St. Peter was buried next to where he was martyred, the Circus of Nero. This is the place where the early Christians were murdered for their faith, around the year 64, according to the pagan historians of the time.
The historian Tacitus assures us that in this area of the Vatican, the first Christians were turned into human torches to illuminate the hill as the sun went down in the evening. They were crucified and their bodies devoured by dogs. Therefore, this is a holy place because it has been soaked with the blood of the martyrs. This very land of the Vatican Hill, this very ground beneath our feet is sacred and blessed.
Excavations in the 20th century were a sort of challenge to a centuries-old tradition. It is worth remembering that in the 6th century, St. Gregory the Great refused to move the head of St. Paul or the remains of St. Peter to Constantinople, the seat of imperial power. In a letter to Constantina, the Empress of Byzantium, St. Gregory writes that it would be absolutely intolerable for anyone to touch the bodies of the saints. He guarantees that whoever dares to move the tombs of the saints buried in Rome would receive tremendous punishments. Because of this tradition, ever since the time of St. Gregory, the original burial sites of the saints have been respected. It was only during the historic excavations of the mid-20th century that an analysis was carried out on the bones found in the Vatican tomb. Contrary to what many people believe, the popes did not reside in the Vatican until the 14th century.
Why so
During
serious?
the first centuries of
Relax,
Christianity,
buddy.
the chair or cathedra of the Bishop of Rome was, as is still today, in the Basilica of St. John Lateran. This is the Cathedral of Rome, and the popes lived in this area until the years in Avignon, France. When they returned, St. John Lateran was in ruins, since it had been uninhabited for years. Following that period of exile, a monastery located on the Vatican Hill seemed like the best place for the Pope and the Curia to settle. Moreover, the fact of living next to Peter's tomb reinforced papal leadership over the Universal Church, which had been lost to some degree in France. The relics of the disciples chosen by Christ to lead the Church helped determine the course of history. The majestic dome of Michelangelo covers Peter's tomb. But there is something else, an essential element for understanding the meaning of the whole basilica.
This dome is supported by 4 magnificent pillars, within which are located the statues of St. Longinus the Centurion, St. Helena, St. Veronica, and St. Andrew. These 4 statues evoke the 4 main relics, called the Reliquias Magnus in Latin, that are preserved in the Vatican Basilica. These are relics that are directly related to the passion and life of Christ.
How did the lamb that pierced Jesus' side in Palestine get all the way to Rome? To understand, we have to go back a few centuries and travel to the east. We are in the year 1098 in Antioch. The soldiers of the first crusade, who all came from several European countries, had managed to take the city after 8 months of
私に命令しないで。人類